So the reason that Plunder True Crime is one of my favourite channels is because everything Paula puts out on her channel has been thoroughly verified first. So I know that any information I'm getting from her is going to be 100% correct. Now, I do my best to model my channel on that way of doing things. And I do always do my best to do my due diligence. If I can't prove something, then I will not present it as factual. If you watched my recent video about a copyright claim on the video that I did about Libby and Abby's, or about Libby's video, you will have seen that I basically presented people with screenshots showing the actual claim that was made against my video. I never made any accusations against any channels saying that this particular individual was responsible. I did say that I suspected that a particular channel could have been responsible, but I left it at that. And I will say the reason why I had my suspicions is because the media group itself, Grey Media, is actually listed as that, not Grey Television Inc. So for them to be claiming copyright on a brand new video that was released after they changed their company name, I would expect to see it as Grey Media Inc. And that's why I didn't even say that I believed that company had claimed copyright on that video. So if you go back and look at that video, you'll see that I've not made any direct accusations against anyone. Basically just presented facts and left it at that. There was a lot of discussion in the comments, and a lot of people do believe that one particular individual is capable of doing such a thing. We'll leave it at that. Now, let's move back on to talking about the Maddie Soto case. I hate Jenn Soto. That's a really strong word to use, but in this case, I have no shame about saying so. The woman essentially pimped out her daughter. She was never there for her daughter. She put her not even boyfriend above her daughter in terms of priorities. The Woody Allen statement to me says that she knew what was going on and she turned a blind eye. And yes, she is directly responsible for what happened to her daughter, because she was the one, by her own admission, who sent her daughter upstairs with that man that night. So I feel justified in my hatred of Jenn Soto. That said, I'm not going to put out any misinformation about Jenn Soto just to whip up more hatred. I don't need to do that. I can go through all her interviews. I can go through the documents. I can simply prove how much of a pathetic individual she is, simply from her own words. So I have no need to go and dig up information that actually isn't truthful, isn't accurate, just to cause more hatred. So about 2 months ago, I did a quite lengthy video, and I will link that below for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it. But it was a video where I debunked a whole heap of misinformation about the Madeline Soto case. A lot of the things that have been discussed, I basically spoke about those, addressed each one, and presented evidence to show why it was misinformation. One portion of that video included a discussion of these PPP loans that Jenn Soto is supposed to have taken out. The story is, and it's popped up again in comments on my channel, so this is why I'm addressing it again. The story is that Jenn took out $80,000 worth of COVID loans, which she never repaid. Speculation is that that's how she bought her car. There's also the belief that, well, to get those loans, she set up an LLC, which she then cancelled after she got the loans. Well, I can tell you all of that is untrue. And I find it disappointing. And I'm just going to say this outright. And yes, you can come at me if you like. But I find it disappointing that the creator who put that information out initially would have been made aware of the fact that I did debunk that information. And yet, this week they have re-released their video, once again making these claims about Jenn getting loans. So I decided to pull out the segment from my debunking video where I explain that no, Jenn did not actually take out any COVID loans, so that I can demonstrate to those of you who are still unsure that in fact these were other people by the name of Jenn Soto who didn't even live in Florida who took out those COVID loans, and it has nothing to do with Jenn Soto. I know that there was talk of or encouragement for people to dob these people in for fraud. So I'm going to ask you not to do so, because these people are not Jenn Soto from from Florida. And I will show you that in this video. So I will in a moment start with the excerpt from my original video. And I may interrupt in a few spots just to clarify a few things based on questions from my original video. So let's just jump in and get to the bottom of this idea about Jenn having these loans. Now, when I research things for any cases I'm covering, I always make sure that I verify everything, or I do my best to verify everything. Like I said, I got sucked in by that H-ghost, and there's a whole video out there where I basically admit to my mistake there. But I'm usually pretty good at verifying everything. And certainly, if I'm looking for information online, then if I find something, I will go through a number of checks to make sure that I have correct information. And you'll see that I'll show you my process as we discuss this next thing, and then you'll understand the best way of researching these things. And hopefully by me showing this may prevent future instances of misinformation being put out there. So just to give a bit of clarification on what I said in that particular part of the video, in terms of verifying things, what you need to do is look at the information in front of you and look at what is being given to you and see if there are things that do not match the known verified information about a particular individual. If something doesn't match verified information, then you need to dig a bit deeper. Because the moment something doesn't match, chances are you're headed down the wrong path. So if we look at Jenn Soto, for example, we know her middle name is Lizette. We know she lives in Kissimmee, Florida. We know she's had previous addresses in Charlotte, Orlando. We've got a fair idea of where she has lived before. So when we are looking at things online for Jenn Soto, if another Jennifer Soto comes up that has a different middle name or a different residential background that does not fit Jenn Lizette Soto from Kissimmee, Florida, then there's a pretty good chance that's not her. And you can delve further into that individual and you will see that there'll be more things that don't line up. So with that said, let's get back onto this video. Now, what I'm talking about is the pandemic loans that supposedly Jenn Soto took out. The story is that Jenn took out $84,000 worth of pandemic loans, which were excused and she didn't have to pay them back, and that she is a fraudster. And on top of that, and here's the thing that concerns me, it's also been said that she deliberately created an LLC so that she could fraudulently get all these PPP loans. And then once she got them, she ended the LLC. Now, in order to get the sources for this, I went and watched a little bit of that creator's video. And that creator was actually encouraging people who were watching to go and report Jenn Soto for fraud for these PPP loans, and provided a link that people could use to do that. The problem is, as much as I hate Jenn, and as much as I want to see her behind bars, Jenn Lizette Soto from Kissimmee in Florida, the Jenn Soto that we know, didn't take out any of those loans. So this information about her fraudulently claiming $84,000 with multiple loans is wrong. So I'm going to go through that for you now so you can understand what's going on here. Now, I just have to mention that when it comes to sites from the US government, quite often I find myself blocked or I have issues with those sites. With this site, I encountered multiple issues. So this is actually a screenshot from the video that was put out by another YouTube creator. So hence the reason it is super blurry. So I apologize for that. If you're watching it on a device, maybe you can zoom a bit and see with the fuzzies that it does say in the left column there, Jennifer Soto. And you have 7 different ones there. Now, there are 2 that says Jennifer Soto Burgos. Now, let's address that first. This is government funding. This means that for someone to actually apply for funding, they would have to provide proof of their identity. They would probably have to provide their social security number. They would definitely have to provide their LLC. basically they'd have to prove who they are. So when I see someone with the name Jennifer Soto Burgos, or whatever it is, to me that says that's definitely not the same Jennifer Soto. And that this has got nothing to do with our Jennifer Soto. When you know someone's name and you're looking them up on the internet, if you see a variation of that name that doesn't match exactly, then you need to take a closer look. Because chances are you're going to find that that person is not the same person. So, going from this blurry screen where you can see 5 Jennifer Sotos and 2 Jennifer Soto Burgos, I decided to dig a bit deeper and actually investigate further. And can I just say, I get frustrated when I have to do the work that someone else should have done in the first place. I don't usually speak out against other creators, but when there is major misinformation being put out, then someone needs to step up and provide clarification. This one bit of misinformation took me probably about 2 hours of going through websites, checking identities, etc., to make sure that I wasn't then putting out misinformation. So, I went onto the Pandemic Oversight webpage. I didn't come across this grid. Like I said, I had a lot of issues with this webpage. It wasn't loading properly for me, and that usually occurs with things that are US government because I'm not in the US. But I did come across the original search part for this. So this is from a PDF, but what I came across was the actual database. So I'm going to go and show you that. Now, because it's a database as opposed to a PDF, it gives you far more information. So what I have here, and I've got 2 screens worth here, so I'll move on to the next one in a second, is I have the first 5 Jennifer Sotos and the first Jennifer Soto Burgos. And the information that's given here that you don't see on the PDF is their locations. You have 1 Jennifer Soto from Chicago, Illinois, 1 from Cypress in Texas, 1 from Aurora in sorry, I'm Australian, I've forgotten that already. Then you have 1 from LA in California, and this Soto Burgos from Stilton in Philadelphia. Now, before you come at me for the CO, you should be praising me for having learnt the abbreviations for those other states. I'm pretty pleased with myself over that. Okay, so let's have a look at the second page. So it appears that this Jennifer Soto Burgos actually had 3 separate loans, or is possibly listed 3 times because the numbers all match. You also have this Jennifer Soto in Chicago, Illinois, coming up twice, but with 2 separate numbers on the end. So, armed with these names, I went onto a different page to have a look and see if I could discover if these Jennifer Sotos came up under these locations, as in if there were real life Jennifer Sotos in Chicago, Los Angeles, Steelton. And this is what I came up with. Now, I used Being Verified, which is, you can use it as a paid resource or you can use the free version. Now, there are some limitations with this. Sometimes it will link people that aren't connected. But one thing that it does give you is it does give you solid addresses, solid ages. I've done this without paying because obviously I have no need to find out more details about these particular Jennifer Sotos. Now, just so that we are clear, I do want to point out that all these sites that show you these kind of things like Being Verified does get their information basically from Google information. So, yes, you may see the same person listed 2 or 3 times, but it doesn't make up addresses. It doesn't make up ages. So when you see a Jennifer Soto with an age of 50 in whatever state that was I just had up on the screen, then you know that that Jennifer Soto does exist. And there may be a few more records that match her on this same page. But you know that there is a real life Jennifer Soto who's aged 50 who lives in this area. So what I'm basically trying to say here is that where you have these names from these COVID loans and you can find matches with Being Verified that are from the same locations, then obviously there is a significantly higher chance that these are the Jenn Sotos that are listed on the pandemic oversight page, rather than it being Jenn Soto from Kissimmee, because nothing else matches. There is, of course, multiple sites like Being Verified that you can look at to confirm the people that come up on Being Verified. Although they pretty much all use the same data. They are using people's personal information that is out there on the internet. But there is the option of looking at any one of these Jennifer Sotos that I'm about to go through and clicking on them and doing a thorough report on them. Now, when I did a search for Jennifer Soto, and I left out the middle name because as you saw on the pandemic information, it didn't include middle names. I went Jennifer Soto, all states. And if you look on the left-hand side there, it says, we found 320 records in 31 states for Jennifer Soto in our US directory. The top state of residence is New York, followed by Florida. Now, were you to go through the list of 320 Jennifer Sotos, yes, of course you would find double ups in that list. So 320 is probably the maximum number of Jennifer Sotos in the United States. We couldn't say that that is the definite number. But at the same time, you can see that there are a heck of a lot. There are hundreds of Jennifer Sotos because there's not going to be that many double ups. And 2 states that they mention as having the most, well, one of those is right where our Jennifer Soto is. I would imagine that if you went onto the US white pages, I can't do that because it blocks me, and just did a search for the surname Soto, that you would come up with thousands and thousands of people with the last name Soto. It's not an uncommon name. So I believe that there would be a couple of hundred, 200-300 Jennifer Sotos in the United States. And that's something that we need to keep in mind while we are trying to verify this information. So when you look at these PPP loans, and you can see that none of the addresses come up as Kissimmee, Florida, that's probably a good clue that none of those Jennifer Sotos are the Jennifer Lizette Soto from Kissimmee that we know. So let's have a look at what I did come up with in terms of the Jennifer Sotos based on the locations that were given on this PPP site. First of all, obviously, I'm not giving addresses or emails or anything like that because I'm not going to dox these people who have already, I suspect, been reported for fraudulent activity simply because they share a name with Jennifer Soto from Kissimmee, Florida. So I feel really bad for these people. And this is the other reason why I need to clarify this, so that people don't continue to make reports on these people for fraudulent activities, because these people have nothing to do with Jennifer Lizette Soto from Kissimmee. So first, we have a Jennifer L. Soto, who is 50 years old, from Aurora, Colorado. And in fact, because the name is so common, you have another Jennifer Soto who is 44 from Aurora, Colorado. That means they are two separate people who live in the same area. If you have a search for Jennifer Soto in Florida, you'll find that there's actually several Jennifer Sotos in Florida too. Moving on, we have a Jennifer Soto from Los Angeles, California, who is 35 years old. And then you have your Jennifer Soto again from LA, California. She had a completely different address to the other Jennifer Sotos from LA, which I'm not going to share with you, but you can always go and do that bit of research yourself if you want to see that. Then you have another Jennifer Soto in LA, California, who is only 29 years old. Now, I did also look up the other ones, like the Jennifer Soto Burgos or whatever and everything, but I don't think I need to go through all of them. If you wish, you now know what you can do, so you can do your own research for that. Now, if someone doesn't appear on being verified, then you can do a search for them under their location, which is what I did with this particular Jennifer Soto from Chicago, Illinois, because she didn't come up in being verified. And I think we can see that the reason she didn't is because she is a sergeant, so there's a level of privacy there. So I apologise to Sergeant Jennifer Soto from Chicago, Illinois, for sharing this bit of information, although obviously I'm not sharing address or pay or anything like that. I'm just showing that she exists. Again, by using a search of Jennifer Soto for location, I came up with a Jennifer Soto in Cypress, Texas, age 51. Once again, I've left out addresses, emails, etc., because I'm not going to dox these poor people who just have the unfortunate luck of sharing a name with Jennifer Soto. So, from all of this, you can see Jenn Soto didn't take out any PPP loans at all. Now, I've gone back to the pandemic oversight page because I want to address this notion that Jennifer Soto created an LLC so that she could scam $84,000 from the government and then close the LLC after she had done so. And I also wanted to show you that you can actually check and you can verify these loan amounts against that PDF that was provided. So I'm going to take a look at this Jennifer Soto from Chicago, Illinois. And it says here, loan amount of $41,248. If we look on the second half, so if we're scrolling down, you can see this loan was approved on the 22nd of May 2021. So we'll just stick a pin in that for now. 2021. Keep that in mind. Now we'll move on to the one in Texas. The loan amount there was $7,083. I'm not sure how you can have more than that forgiven. But if you look at the date for that one, that was approved on the 22nd of July 2020. Now, like I said, you can check these amounts against that PDF and see that they match. And like I said, to get those loans, they would have to provide proper identification. So if according to this, it says that the loan was taken out by a Jennifer Soto in Cypress, Texas, you can bet that that's where she was located. Now, going on to the dates. So we've got one approved in 2021, one approved in 2020. So let's have a look at Jennifer Soto's LLC. Okay, so this is the LLC record for Jennifer Soto. You can see, yes, it is the correct Jennifer Soto because it does have her address down there. I'm not doxing because I think we all know her address off by heart by now. But this is her LLC. Date filed 1st of December. Sorry, have to Americanise that. The 12th of January 2022. She got her LLC after all those pandemic loans were approved. You can go back and you can actually check every single one of them and you will see. Aside from that, if you have an LLC, you've got to have it with your address on it, like here. She can't get an LLC for all those other addresses. Voluntary dissolution occurred 29th of November 2022. Now, many of you actually know what this is about. Jenn Soto tried setting up a dog minding business, which, like so many of the things that Jenn did, completely failed. She did it through Rover, apparently. Now, I believe that there is a record of that still, and that there was apparently a TikTok where someone showed images of her dog minding business from Rover. And I think that Paula might have also covered this on her channel at some point in time. Like I said, I spent several hours yesterday pulling all the data together just to debunk this one thing. So to then go through all of Paula's videos, that's Plunder, to find the video where she discussed Jen's dog mining business just didn't seem like an effective use of my time. But by all means, hop across, check out Paula's playlist for Maddie Soto, and I'm pretty certain there's a video there which discusses this dog minding business. So this LLC here is Jen's attempt at starting up a dog minding business that went kaput. We even hear from Deb Stearns about Jen's dog minding business going kaput. I'll play that shortly, but first of all, I also need to address the issue of the GoFundMe. Because, yes, Jen's sister Stephanie did create a GoFundMe account to cover the cost of Maddie's funeral. And people have said, well, that's a scam because the funeral was actually paid for. A funeral home actually offered to pay for it. They donated the costs themselves. So I thought, okay, so let's have a look at this and see if that is truly the case. So you have the GoFundMe page, and you can still find it if you search Madeline Soto GoFundMe, I think. And here they raised $16,000 or $16,627. And the purpose was the funds will be used for Maddie's funeral arrangements and to support our family. Thank you for your love, kindness and support. Now, the update provided on 7th of March 2024. Thank you to everyone for the overwhelming amount of support and generosity. We have reached the goal and have paused donations for the time being. There was a funeral home that graciously offered to cover the cost of Maddie's funeral. However, my family and I had already made arrangements when the offer was made. In other words, they'd already organised Maddie's funeral when another funeral home made the offer of covering the cost. Now you could imagine that it's not something that you're just going to go shop around and go, okay, well, can we now have her body moved from this other funeral home to the one that's offering to do it for free? At that point, they would have signed contracts. They'd probably already paid a deposit. So, obviously not something that can be changed at short notice. And certainly when you're grieving, not something that you would have the mental capacity to want to be messing around with changing. So, according to this, the offer was made to cover the cost of Maddie's funeral, but that offer was not accepted because arrangements had already been made. Now, I don't know funeral costs in the United States, so I don't know how much of that money would have gone towards the funeral and how much went towards the money. Personally, I don't believe Jen should have seen a cent of that money. And I will say that this particular GoFundMe is, I think it's, fund protected is what they say. Meaning that if you made a donation, you can request your donation back if you believe that it was not used for the right purpose. I'd be interested to know what the cost of a funeral is in the United States. to know how much of that $16,000 went towards a funeral. But at the end of the day, some of that money did go towards Maddie's funeral, because what they're saying here is that the offer for it to be paid for occurred after they had already made arrangements. Okay, so I'm going to move on and play the clip from Deb Stearns, where she's talking about Jen and the dog minding, and then I'll move on to the next thing.
They were both supposed to be working at Disney together, but she can't keep a job.
Mm-hmm. Do you know why?
Because of the bipolar.
Well,
she doesn't want to lose her state benefits.
but depending on the type of work, she had back issues or something, so she couldn't do physical things. And now she did have a job as a concierge that didn't require any pressure or stress on her back or something. But there was always something that prevented her from working. Couldn't do dog sitting, whatever job it was. It would last no more than 2 weeks.
So you may have wondered who this dog was that Maddie was sitting with. I had speculated that maybe it was Tyler's dog, maybe it belonged to another family member, but, and I can't remember my source, it may have been Paula. Like I said, I think she did a video on this. This particular photo was used to promote Jen's pet sitting business. So I believe this is a dog that she was actually pet sitting. So we know now that the LLC loans, the PPP loans, were not Jenn Soto's loans. She did not defraud the government of $84,000. As much as we love to hate the woman, we need to at least make sure that we are putting factual information out there. Jenn Soto did not get any PPP loans from the government. If you go back and look at them, you will see that every single one of them is from a different state. Also, if you look at the dates that those loans were taken out, they were all taken out before Jenn even applied for her LLC. Jen's LLC was for this pet sitting business that failed, hence the reason she got rid of the LLC. Now, before I talk about Jen's car, I do want to address a few things that were mentioned last time I put this out. One of those was, well, if Jenn is trying to defraud the government, of course she's going to put down different addresses. Okay, that's a great theory. But the thing is here, you can match real life Jenn Sotos to the locations that were given in the PPP loan pages. Not only that, the only thing that matches Jenn Soto from Kissimmee in that database is the name. When you have only one piece of data that matches, then if you can't verify any of the other data, you need to throw that out. There is nothing that links Jennifer Soto from Kissimmee to any of those LLCs that are listed on that spreadsheet. There is nothing that links Jennifer Soto from Kissimmee to any of the other addresses listed on that spreadsheet. There is nothing that links Jennifer Soto from Kissimmee to a Jennifer Soto Burgos. Logically, since each of those Jennifer Sotos listed on that spreadsheet can be matched to a name in the specific locations that were given, then obviously common sense would tell you that they are the Jennifer Sotos who applied for the loans. There is nothing at all that could offer any verification of Jenn Soto from Kissimmee taking out any loans. Nothing matches at all other than just the name. And as you've seen, there are hundreds of Jennifer Sotos in the United States. Now, the final thing with this, the comment that, well, how did Jenn get the money for her car? And I've been asking that question for a long time myself. And I know some people have been using the COVID loans as saying, well, using the car as solid proof that Jenn did defraud the government. Look, she bought this brand new car in 2022. She's on a pension, a disability payment. So she must have done these PPP loans. Well, no. We don't know for certain what the source of the money was for buying that car. And it is a bit of a stretch to turn around and say that the car is proof of these loans when there is nothing at all that connects her to those loans. Now, I was doing a video yesterday where I was talking about the confusion over whether or not Stefan actually went to Kissimmee on the Saturday or the Sunday. And as part of that, I listened to the audio of Jenn's neighbours. Now, one thing that people had taken away from listening to the audio of Jenn's neighbours was this belief that they had said that Stefan had been there on the Saturday sitting in Jenn's car. And from going back over the audio, I discovered that that's actually not what they said. And in fact, when you listen to what they said, it could in fact provide an explanation for how Jenn ended up with a brand new car in 2022. So I'm going to play the audio from the neighbours and then unpack that and then wind up this video.
And in the past few days, have you seen any of the family members?
Yes.
Okay. When was that, more or less?
It was last week, sometimes last week. I don't know, I can't nail down the day, but it was last week. We saw him come and go.
Okay. Was he driving or walking?
No, he came out. When I saw him, I was going out to check my van to make sure the windows were all closed. Mm-hmm. And he was coming out and he went to the white car that they own it together. Mm-hmm. But he went and sat in the white car. Okay. And then I didn't see him after that.
Was that on the weekend or earlier in the week that you remember?
It was on the weekend. It was on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
That I saw him.
Was he by himself at that time?
Yeah.
So just before she asked that particular question, she had asked when the last time was that he had seen Stefan, and he said a week and a half back, or roughly. Now, the question then was, when was the last time he saw any of the family? Now, these people know that Stefan does not live there. They know that he is not family. So when they started talking about this individual, it seems pretty clear that they were not talking about Stefan, but a member of the family. This is a male member of the family. And they're saying that he was there the previous weekend. And that was either the Saturday or the Sunday, and that they saw him go out to Jenn's car and sit in Jenn's car. So, first of all, it sounds to me that it is, in fact, they were referring to Juan, not Stefan. because why would you refer to Stefan as family? He's not family. And also they'd already had the conversation about Stefan, meaning that these people wouldn't have been confused over who she was talking about because they had just finished talking about Stefan and they had given a different time for when they last saw Stefan. The interesting thing here is that it sounds like he's not entirely certain, but this neighbour believes that the car is jointly owned by this family member and Jenn. Now, that makes a lot of sense to me. It would seem quite logical that if they are in fact referring to Juan is allowing Jenn to be almost rent-free in his townhouse. I mean, at the end of the day, $400 a month is pretty much nothing. So it sounds like he does try and look after her, or maybe he's doing it to look after Maddie. But like I said in yesterday's video, it would also be logical for him to, if Jenn was on a disability pension, not working, and she needed a car. This is a guy who is retired. He owns his townhouse. He doesn't have to pay rent or mortgage anywhere else because he lives in a van. So I could see it being quite plausible that he was the one who purchased the car and that it is in both their names. We just have to look at other cases. If you, like I said yesterday, Megan Cole in the Kylie Rodney case. She's 45, she's never bought a car in her life because any time her car reaches a point of getting too old or needs major repairs or has major damage to it, her dad buys her a new one. It happens. And it seems like Juan doted on Maddie. And with him off doing his road tripping, doing his van life thing, maybe there was an issue with Jen's old car and it seemed like the best solution to Juan to make sure that Maddie could be gotten to and from school to buy Jen a car. It certainly seems more plausible than these PPP loans which don't match in any way to Jenn at all. Of course, there's also the possibility that she had another income that is not shown anywhere, but it's not anything that we can prove either. So, basically, from looking at all that, yes, it would be satisfying to be able to accuse Jenn of defrauding the government of $84,000. To vilify her just that little bit more. Look, she's a fraudster. But at the end of the day, there is absolutely nothing linking her to those loans other than a matching name. A name which is so common in the United States that you can find it in 31 of the 50 states in the United States of America. Not one of the individuals listed for those loans was in Florida. None of the LLCs match. And Jen's LLC was taken out after all those loans had been taken out. To me, it seems irresponsible to be putting out this sort of misinformation. And I will draw your attention back to the Kylie Rodney case. there is a civil suit at the moment which is occurring. You may have seen me doing little updates on it occasionally. The civil suit is between Kylie Rodney's father and grandfather and a YouTube creator called Ryan Upchurch. Ryan made multiple false allegations during the Kylie Rodney case. Now, one of the things in the civil suit that Rodney and Robertson have put, one of the allegations they've made in their civil suit against Upchurch, is that he had claimed that they had defrauded people with a GoFundMe. And this can be proven that they had nothing to do with the GoFundMe. It was actually a friend of Kylie's mother who established the GoFundMe. And yes, I do believe the GoFundMe was fraudulent because it initially was listed as raising money to increase the reward money for finding Kylie. And then shortly before Adventures with Purpose came on the scene to go search for Kylie, they then changed the description and said that it was money for the family, which is against the rules of GoFundMe, and to me it is somewhat fraudulent. But Robertson and Rodney had nothing to do with that. So they have actually included that in their civil suit against Upchurch. So it's a big deal. We're looking at Jenn Soto, who lives on disability, doesn't work. This could be a major cash cow for her if creators are making these allegations of fraud against her. We know she has a lawyer because her lawyer sat in on the derivative use interview with her. I would feel nervous about having content out there making such strong allegations against a person when we know they already have legal representation. Because it is opening yourself up to legal action. Now, this video was not intended as an attack on any creators. This is simply me attempting to correct some serious misinformation. Because it becomes one of those things that becomes self-perpetuating. A few people comment about it in people's videos. I've seen in the last couple of days, I've had people comment on it 2 or 3 times. And I have set the record straight with those people. But if people are going onto other creators' pages and sharing misinformation, you just have to look at the Kylie Rodney case. There was a lot of misinformation put out by Megan Cole. And people began accepting that as fact and commenting on it in people's videos. And now it becomes hard to actually figure out the origins of all the information in the Kylie Rodney case and work out what is fact and what is fiction. So it is important to correct misinformation when it occurs. It is certainly important to do so when that can, in fact, result in people reporting innocent people to the government for fraud. So, on that note, I'm going to finish it there. I think the number one takeaway from this video is verify everything. If something doesn't match, then it's probably not accurate. So on that note, thanks for listening. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, let's get this video out into the algorithm. Let's get this misinformation seen by as many people as possible. So please hit the like button and leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Have I made it easier for you to understand? Any questions you have, fire away. So thanks, and I will catch you in the next one.